Hey, what's up guys? It's Zenext here, and in today's video I want to talk about Hunter x Hunter, and specifically why I believe Killua is stronger than Gon. So before I get into the meat and potatoes of this video, I just want to preface it by saying that in this video we aren't going to count adult form Gon, obviously, because that's a bit unfair. He used a restraint and restriction in order to unleash that form, so it's not really a true reflection of his actual strength. It was something that he obtained by losing all his Nen, so it's not really a true reflection of his real strength. So we're going to go based on the base stats prior to Gon turning into his adult form in the Chimeran arc. So the first thing I want to do is gauge their physical strength, and there is a really great way to do this, and we're going to go all the way back to when Gon, Kurapika and Leorio were trying to open the testing gate. So for those of you that don't remember, the testing gate is the gate in front of Killua's house. So we know when Killua returned from taking the Hunter exams that he opened the first 4 gates of the testing gate. Now, each gate, the weight doubles, and we know that the first entrance is 1 ton. So we know that in that moment where Killua returned home, he pushed 8 ton worth of door open. Whereas with Gon, it was him, Kurapika and Leorio together. They were only able to open the first door, and that's it. So at minimum, let's assume that Gon could actually open the first gate by himself. Killua is at least 8 times stronger than what Gon is at that point, and that's just pure physical strength. Now, even though Nen is the basis of most of the power for the characters in Hunter x Hunter, physical strength is indeed a very important factor, which is displayed by Biscay in the Greed Island arc. Now, when Biscay is training Gon and Killua, Biscay prepares Ko on her fist. So that is the kind of like the focused Nen aura. So it's Zetsu, Hatsu, Ten, Ren, and Gyo all at the same time, which is basically what Gon's Junkenpo is. That's what his rock is it's all 5 of those kind of combined together, and she does that. What she does when she's fighting Gon and Killua, or like displaying the power of Ko to Gon and Killua, is she prepares Ko, and then she slowly moves it towards Gon, and then Gon is impacted by the blow of Ko. Now, why this is important is because we see it knock back Gon, but then she says after this, if you applied physical strength to this Ko, it would multiply it by a factor of like 8 to 10 in terms of its strength that it would deliver to the opponent. So physical strength is an important factor in the magnitude of how Nen actually impacts damage. So your physical strength can make a huge difference. Now, at this point in the story, it's made clear that Gon and Killua essentially have around the same level of Nen capacity, so they're both working with the same amount of Nen. But because Gon is an enhancer, he definitely has more of a leaning towards physically attributed Nen attacks. But even so, Killua is a transmuter, which means he has an 80% chance of learning enhancer attacks effectively. So if we actually take into account his physical strength, I believe that like Killua would actually be able to deal Nen attacks just using Ken on the same level or even greater than Gon, I believe, because he just has the physical strength to be above that. And that's kind of confirmed by Biscay as well, because during the Greed Island training arc, we see Biscay say that Killua is physically stronger and has a higher intellect than Gon, but Gon makes up for it with his recovery abilities and concentration. Now, realistically, in a fight, the recovery abilities aren't as helpful as Killua's intellect and his physical strength. Like, that's more for on a training aspect. It means that Gon could actually train harder and recover quicker, so overall he's exponentially going to grow quicker. But Killua is still so talented that he would still be growing at an incredibly fast rate, and I believe it would take Gon a fair while to actually overcome Killua's physical strength and aura. So that's pretty much this part of the video where we go over the physical strength and why it's such an important part in Nen-based attacks. And now I want to get into their unique abilities, which they display thoroughly in the Chimera Ant arc. So Gon's biggest feat with his Jajanken in the Chimera Ant arc was when he charged it up against Morel. Morel wanted to test Gon's power to see if he was ready and up for the task of fighting the Royal Guard, and he tests him by flexing his own Ren and getting him to charge up the Jajanken, and he intimidates Morel at that moment, and we can see that the Jajanken that he charged up at that moment was much stronger than any we had seen in the past. It's really quite hard to gauge Gon's strength post Kite dying, as we only really see him fight two Chimera Ants, which is the owl and the bat at the same time, which is quite a feat within itself. But post that, it's only charging up that Jajanken against Morale that we actually get to see his power. So unfortunately, there isn't really much to work with in terms of Gon's base strength. Whereas with Killua, there are two key points throughout the Chimera Ant arc where we can see a massive increase in his power and what he's able to do. So the first moment would be against Ramot, where he's trying to protect Gon while he's in Zetsu. We see that before taking the needle out of his head, he can barely keep it together. He can't even fight Ramot. It's just a joke. Like he's struggling very much against his enemy, and then post removing the needle, he one-shots Ramot. So that needle was almost putting a limiter on his strength. This is also backed up by Biscay's statement when she's training Gon and Killua, in that Killua always assumes that he is at his weakest when he enters a Nen fight, and he assumes the enemy is at their strongest when really everyone's on a range on how they could perform in a fight, depending on circumstances. The second moment was when Killua took on Yuppie. During this exchange, we see Killua take on Yuppie, and it is like child's play with his speed of lightning. Yuppie can't even react to how quickly Killua is moving, and along with his Narukami, keeps on dealing consistent damage. He was able to toy with Yuppie where Knuckle and Shoot barely survived, and we know that Knuckle and Shoot on paper are much stronger Nen aura than Killua and Gon. And this is a true display of what Killua can actually do in a battle, which is something that Gon really can't pull off in the same way. I don't think Gon would have come even close to dealing damage to Yuppie without taking significant damage to himself, whereas Killua was able to pull this off relatively easily. So now I want to talk about the major shortcomings of Gon and Killua's unique abilities. So for Gon's Jajanken, this is made very clear with his fight with Knuckle. So we see that his Jajanken's major flaw is that he has to stay still and charge it up, and in that moment anyone could take advantage of hitting him. And not only in that moment is he just focused on charging up the aura, it leaves his other defenses lower as well, because he's concentrating all his aura into his hand, which leaves his defense weakened as well. So that's a huge disadvantage to the Jajanken. And then the second problem with it is that even while he's charging, he's using massive amounts of aura, so if he misses that attack, he's just lost a chunk of his own aura in the fight. One advantage that Gon's ability does have though is the ability to bluff, so he can show off his rock at any time during a fight and people will be frightened by that, and then he can actually use it to bait into a paper or scissors to use his emitter or transmuter abilities. As for Killua with his speed of lightning, the one major downside to his ability is the length of time that he can maintain it for. It seems like Killua is only able to maintain it for 5 to 10 minutes. That's the best he's got when it comes to speed of lightning. So now finally I want to compare both characters, line them up, and show you why Killua will ultimately beat Gon in a fight, and why in fights he has a significant advantage compared to Gon. So as we talked about earlier, when it comes to base Nen attacks, physical strength plays a huge role in the multiplication of the power of that attack, and I think it's displayed throughout the series that Killua is much stronger physically than Gon is. So in terms of the physical aspect and base Nen attacks, Killua is always going to have Gon beat, at least at this point in the story. When it comes to the unique abilities, Killua has the ability to attack at lightning speed against Gon's Jajangkem, which is a pretty slow attack comparatively, which requires concentration. He could break down Gon's Jajangkem before it even starts with his Narukami. Because of this major difference in speed, Killua is always going to one-up Gon, as Gon is not going to have the time to prepare any of his attacks against Killua. And this goes for any opponent that Killua would happen to go up against. He would just have such a huge speed advantage that he'd be able to stun them with his lightning based abilities and then attack those stunned enemies with significant Nen based attacks. So that pretty much sums up the video. So it's a mixture of his physical strength and the adaptability of his Nen based abilities is really what makes Killua the superior fighter compared to Gon, and why I believe in a fight Killua would always one-up Gon. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up. I'd love to hear your comments on what you think about base Gon versus base Killua without adult Gon in the picture. What you would think, who do you think would win and why. I'd love to see those comments down below, and if you really liked the video, I'd love it if you subscribed. I'd really appreciate it. And thank you so much for watching. Have a lovely day.